Do you ever have those moments in life where you are in the epicenter of a window of history? A moment of true divine timing where paths intersect. A place of unique joy that is customized for you, but it requires you to step into it. Then I want you to join me today as we discuss the Inbetweeners Places of Joy, Part 2. We will step into the hallowed grounds of Wimbledon, one of the most famous sporting venues and grand slams, tennis tournaments on planet Earth, in a moment of time of tennis history and my own history that is all about the IIR principle: investigation, innovation, and renovation. The setting is Wimbledon 2016. The great and legendary and immortal Roger Federer against a British journeyman, Willis, on center court, a grand slam, the third event of the year. You may be asking, if you aren't familiar with tennis terminology, Caleb, what's a grand slam? Just to do a little sports factoid catch up here with those of you who are not completely into the tennis game and into tennis sports like I've been for the last few decades. A Grand Slam is one of 4 major tennis tournaments on planet Earth. We've got the Australian Open, named the Aussie Open, which is in Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne. We have the French Open in Paris, France. We have the US Open in New York, in the United States. And we have Wimbledon. These are 4 different courts, 4 different environments, and 4 different surfaces. Hard court, slower hard court in Australia, grass court in Wimbledon, which is where we're going to talk about here, clay courts in France, and the faster hard courts in the United States at the US Open. That is the 4, but we're going to go into the Wimbledon story in the year 2016. This is the 3rd Grand Slam of the year in the summertime at the All England Tennis Club. My father and I traveled together to Europe to do a father-son trip in 2016. We got to see Euro 2016, the football, as the Europeans call it, that's the proper terminology, or soccer for many North Americans. Got to see that in France, which was absolutely wonderful. Different story. Go off into that on another moment in my content. But today we're talking about Wimbledon, which was the latter part of our trip in England. And we only had 2 days to be able to experience as much as of the All England Club as we could at Wimbledon in a fresh grass court environments. And we queued for a few hours, because that's what you do in England. You queue, wait in line with many people from different places around the world. You chit-chat, you have some snacks and some drinks, and you queue to wait to get into the All England Club right before the gates open up. And that itself is an experience. Queuing is like gathering in the town square and just chit-chatting with many different people and talking about, okay, who's on the schedule for the men, for the women, like what's going on. And it's a real good place to just chew the fat and be able to talk sports and to talk tennis with all the tennis fanatics. It's beautiful. I highly recommend you go to a Grand Slam, especially Wimbledon. Good time. We queued to get into the park. We got in. Once we got into the All England grounds at the All England Tennis Club, the fine attention to detail was just overwhelmingly good. Fresh smell of grass, everything finely groomed. The beautiful taste of strawberries and cream, which is a traditional treat and snack that the Brits like to have at Wimbledon. You have to do that if you're going there. And finally, excited chatter and the roar of the crowds and the hush between points. It's like theater. It's just being in that environment. It's like a modern day. It is a modern day Colosseum, except without the killing and without blood and guts. But instead of that, there is a competition. There's a competition, the gladiators of tennis, the greatest tennis players of our generation, like Roger Federer, were there in that year. And we got to experience that. Well, we're going to get into how that actually happened. We got into the grounds. There are many different outer courts that we had the option to watch other matches. And many people would settle for that. But my father and I, we looked at each other and said, we want to go and experience Roger Federer. The great Roger Federer is a hero of ours and somebody who's one of the best golden generation players in this time. He's since retired, but him, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, the big three. Those are unquestionably the big three. And we wanted to see Roger. We'd come all the way around the world to see football, soccer in France, and of course to see tennis in Wimbledon. And Roger Federer was high on the list. And we could have settled. We could have settled for the outer courts, but we wanted that inner court. We wanted that center court experience in this second round of Wimbledon. And what was happening in the build-up towards this center court match was Roger, the great Roger Federer, was on center court, and he was playing Willis. Willis was the equivalent of a pub player, of somebody at a local tennis club at a very non-professional, I say this respectfully, non-professional amateur level. He was a miracle run player that had one miracle run, and I'm going to explain what a miracle run is. For a wildcard player in the Miracle Run, you have to pre-qualify as a wildcard player just to get into the tournament. And Willis had to beat 5 or 6 players in the pre-qualifier just to be a wildcard qualifier, to get in as a qualifier to the match. And then the first round, he actually beat somebody who was a ranked player on the ATP Tour, I think in the top 150, 125. And Willis is probably into the hundreds, way down the list. Big mismatch, but an upset. And he won that match to lead up to the point where he would face the great Roger Federer. And Willis, of course, British man, the crowd was behind him because he's a scrapper and a fighter. Roger Federer, the crowd loves him as well too. He's the great Roger Federer from Switzerland, very much a gentleman, flowing effortlessly on the court. His game and finesse and his style is just one to be admired. And the crowd was bustling, and when we got into the grounds, we couldn't possibly afford to pay for a ticket at the very beginning of the match, because these tickets were talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of pounds to be able to actually see the match. Just an exuberant amount of money, and seeing this match would have required digging deep into our pockets. But there was a way to be able to see the match where we had to innovate. So we talked about the IRR principle: investigate, innovate, and renovate. Well, here is our investigation turning into innovate. And our innovate was standing in the line in the classical England weather of summer. Nothing but rain. This day was full of rain, and we rained. We stand in the rain, dancing crowd in the rain, and just in our coats and just freezing, willing to wait for resale tickets. And what are resale tickets? Resale tickets are when the rich and famous that bought their tickets decide that they're going to go home early. And these tickets are given to be able to be resold again and sold for charity for only about 15, 20, 30 pounds. Very affordable, very cheap tickets. And we had a choice whether we were going to go see some of the lesser matches on the outer courts, because in the early rounds you can see many different matches, or we are going to innovate and wait and put ourselves in a position to be able to experience this moment of our dreams, a window of history. That window of history I'm talking about, stepping into where those paths intersect. And we looked at each other, my father and I are like, okay, this is our moment. This is the moment where we're going to see Roger Federer on center court in Wimbledon at a Grand Slam, and we're going to push our chips in the middle of the table and say, okay, this is our one of 2 days here at Wimbledon. This is the only day we're going to get to see Roger. We're going to take the risk of not seeing any other matches today, and we're going to stand in line and wait with a few hundred other people. So we were one of the first 25, 50, 100 people that were in the line, and we waited for 3 hours, 2-3 hours, and we waited for before the match, and then even as the first set ended. And after the first set, Roger blew Willis out in the first set. It was a complete blowout. But what happened was people started to leave. They started to leave the grounds and go home. The rich are going home early for their dinner, they're going out for their parties or socials, and they would put the tickets back into the queue to be resold again and bought. We were turning to other people. I remember there was this middle-aged man from Germany who was just like looking at us saying, we're going to get in, we're going to get in, we're going to get in. And like, yeah, we're going to get in. We're encouraging each other. We're exhorting each other. We're inspiring each other. We're calling into season the things of our future. So yes, we're going to get in. We're going to get in. We're going to manifest that moment, envision it, see it in our mind's eye, step into that and into that intersecting path of our destiny. And we're going to claim it. We're going to take it. And he became the buddy in the line that we just talked with for many hours amongst the other people, but especially come back to him, circle back around saying, do you think we can get in? Oh yeah. Just really checking in with each other. Having that sparring buddy, because everyone needs a sparring buddy. Everyone needs a shield bearer, an armor bearer where you can go up and scale the cliffs and face the enemy and just do that together. So he was like a sparring buddy. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another, as the proverb says. And we did that. Finally, the moment came where tickets became available. Some people started to leave. The first set was over, and we got our ticket. And this German man was so exuberant and overjoyed that he was just, oh yeah, we got it, yeah, and he high-fived, and we got into center court, into the building at Wimbledon. Walked those hallways, could hear the roar of the crowd, the hush, the oohs, the ahs, and then we stepped in the theater, the amphitheater, this coliseum of tennis greats, this gladiator arena at Wimbledon. Got to see the great Roger Federer in his prime playing Willis, the Brit, and the crowd was behind the Brit because they wanted to see a feisty match there behind Roger because they're cheering for both, and it was a wonderful experience, one that I will never forget, but one that would not have been possible without the IIR principle, without investigation, without innovation, and without renovation. And we risked it. We waited for the hours, and we were willing to do that. We were willing to risk not seeing anything else. And this is what it means. This is what it means as a human being. Individuals walking in the DNA of our design, in the purpose to which we've been created, following that and not giving into the obstacles that were on our path. We didn't give into the obstacles that day, my father and I, and for us, we don't have to give into those obstacles and those barriers either. We can find ways to be able to investigate, to look into something that could be easily passed over by 99% of the other people. But because we're looking into these things as entrepreneurs, as ones that are aligned spirit, soul, and body within the SSB method, DNA of our design, then we can do this. We can investigate. We can innovate. We can reinvent ourselves. Finally, when we get into that new environment, we renovate. It's time to push aside everything and every mindset and every formula that happened before and say, this is your ground. This is my ground. This is our ground to be able to establish what works within our intricate wiring and the way and the purpose to which we've been created. Our armor, our own DNA of design, not the cloning con job culture that says, oh, you must do it this way, you must do it that way. No. You and I, as the investigators, as the innovators, as the renovators, as we take the full IRR principle into effect, this is how we're going to be able to grow as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as fully empowered individuals, to walk in that design, our own true design. And that is what the world system is trying to dissuade empowered individuals like you and I from walking in, which is the purpose to which we have been created, not the formula that says you must do it this, and this way and be like that person and completely sell out your birthright and your inheritance. No. We must step forward and say, in the amphitheater of our dreams, we are going to call into season the things of our future by investigating, by innovating, by reinventing ourselves, and by renovating that environment, taking everything into consideration and going all in, no matter what the cost. And our individual walk, we must take a census of our senses. What do I mean by that? Well, a census in Roman times was when there was a call for everyone to be able to be counted. In biblical history, there was a decree that the whole world should be taxed in the days of Caesar Augustus. That was a census, a rallying of the whole country of the Holy Land in Israel and Palestine, of saying there must be a census of everyone in the land must be taxed under the Roman Empire. And that example I use for a census of our senses. In the same way, everyone has to be in on paying a tax. We must be all in on a census of our senses, and that is taking into account our five senses, our seeing, our hearing, our tasting, our touching, our smelling, and experiencing those five senses and taking those into complete consideration. Because if we don't take a census of our senses, if we don't take an inventory of what's going on around us, we will miss the investigation, we will miss the innovation, we'll miss the renovation. Con culture will always try to put you and I off of our path. They'll try to push us off the main road from our destiny, our purpose, by not being engaged with these elements because of the hustle culture, because of the busy culture, because of having to be a rat in a cage, a hamster on a wheel. But this is not the way with you and I. You and I were built to reach the purpose to which we've been created by our DNA of design. And that starts from a place of taking a census of our senses. Don't lose your moment. Don't lose a moment. Don't lose the wonder. Don't lose the awe. Just like at Wimbledon, the hallowed grounds at Wimbledon, if I lost my moment there, me and my father, if I would have lost the wonder and the awe, we wouldn't have experienced that. We wouldn't have experienced that sense overload in the best way possible of experiencing the sights, the sounds, the fragrance along the way, and every taste, complete atmosphere, the census of our senses. And in life, when we lose the awe, if we lose the awe and the wonder and the mystery, when we lose that connection to the things unseen, we lose our wire-to-wire communication with the spiritual, with the unseen, with connecting with God, with connecting with our higher power, with becoming too earth-focused and earth-bound in our thinking. We need spirit, soul, and body to be fully in alignment as one unit, not to be dichotomous, just mind and body, but to be trichotomous, spirit, soul, and body, together as one unit. And when we walk in our earthly earth suit and our avatar as one unit, spirit, soul, and body, we have the full maximum potential to walk in the purpose to which we've been created. So investigate, innovate, and renovate. Take a full census of your senses and be aligned, spirit, soul, and body. And when you step into this role, into this authority, in this position, you will have an acceleration on walking in your DNA of design and reaching the purpose to which you've been created. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe right now. Stop everything that you're doing. Subscribe to my channel at the C link, and we'll have more content for you just like this.